It's pretty bad when you have to go to your mother country, so to speak, the mail online from England, to get the information from your home state, Texas. It was like an atomic bomb. First daylight images reveal shocking devastation by Texas fertilizer plant explosion that tore through the town, left 15 dead and 100 more injured. I only have 15 minutes and there's no way to read all this stuff, so I'm going to go by the pictures. Y'all can look it up. This is supposed to be an apartment destroyed by the explosion of an fertilizer plant in West Texas, which could have killed 15. Does this really look like an apartment complex to you that somebody was living in yesterday? I don't know if it does to me or not, but if it does, it's mighty small. Look at these two firefighters here. They are touching shoulders or whatever. There's maybe room for one more person in this room. If this is what this is, I don't know. But let's move on. We got a blown up car or a wrecked car, some type. These posts, don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a parking lot or not. Doesn't really look like a parking lot that's been used anytime lately. And all this stuff looks like debris to me. Debris, debris, debris. All these little bitty rooms, little bitty rooms. Look at this room. Look at this room. That's a little bit bigger. But still, how would you live in that room? Literally an apartment? I can't believe it hardly. But anyway, and is this supposed to be the size of a window unit air conditioner? That's pretty doggone tiny. Pretty tiny. Don't believe it. Maybe that's some kind of a closet. I don't see any furniture. I don't see any signs of humans having lived here except this little string of blue clothes right here. Wood is old. It's old sheetrock. It's old, smashed out down to here. It looks more like a demolition job to me. And I have seen some demolition jobs. Besides this blue, you only have red, black, and white. Red, black, and white seems to be a Masonic color combination, and maybe that's a flag. I don't know. What do you think? Here's these two guys in this little bitty room, and they have some kind of a quilt. It looks like a Simpsons character, Thelma, on there. But Thelma's full of dust and dirt, and lots of old dust and dirt too, not just dust and dirt. Moving on. Wasteland. The remains of fertilizer plant sits destroyed after the explosion on Thursday morning. Well, that was supposed to be Wednesday night. Authorities do not yet know what caused the blaze. We have a tree that is perfectly intact, a nice oak tree. We have other trees that aren't, but I don't know, they might not have leafed out yet. Maybe they're burnt. But this is pretty devastating here. I don't know what that's from, but it's horrible. Here is the remains of the fertilizer company. I thought this was the fertilizer company remains. Remains of the fertilizer plant. The remains of the fertilizer plant. Smolder in the rain Thursday. You mean the rain made this grass grow? Massive explosion Wednesday night, see? Thursday night, Wednesday night, Thursday, I'm not sure, morning. But this is a similar kind of an oak tree. I don't think it's the same one, but we got more trees. We got another company name here, Brock, and a whole lot more debris in the debris field in the smoke. And some truck that's lost its tailgate hanging off. Looks like the back window's blown out. Other than that, it hadn't been twisted and mangled like this building or any of this other metal. And that's not really good metal. That's pretty thin metal. It's kind of sheet metalish. Here's a pretty good map. Fertilizer company. Over here in another little area map, it shows this is the ammonia tanks right here. Then you've got the nursing home directly in front. I'll give them that. And here's the triage set up on the football field. Open air, ammonia tanks, anhydrous ammonia that the whole town was supposed to be evacuated for. Anhydrous ammonia, but we're going to set up an open air triage right here. And they're supposed to have a hospital in this town. Why didn't they just go to the hospital where it's enclosed, where there's some oxygen? Don't know. Here we've got I-35 from Laredo to San Antonio, Austin, Waco, and West Texas. Okay, now we know where we're at. Maybe. Smoke cloud. A resident in West tweeted these pictures, adding the mushroom cloud from my front yard in West right after the explosion. Pretty intense. It is a big mushroom cloud from the looks of that, and really big one. Mushroom cloud usually denotes a nuke. Not many people live here. One truck, some lights, some kind of car. Other than that, it's deserted. I mean, deserted. Here's the tail of that truck. Here's the truck, the lights, and we can't see over here. Here we go with some more of the explosion at the fertilizer plant, wreaking havoc, wreaking devastation in a town of West Texas. Okay, I don't see the tree anywhere. Here's more on that apartment complex. This seems to be a favorite theme, and this looks like it's lit up with yellow lights, or it's on fire. But if this is on fire, this thing would go up like a cinder. Poof. Because it's so dry and so old, and I don't think any life has been happening here for a while, but that's just me. And y'all may think I'm wrong. I may turn out to be wrong, but that looks like a demolition job. This is a house that's on fire. You can see the torn up wood. You can see the boards here that the fire is being seen through. And this, the steps, this is not a fireman. This is not, guy doesn't have a hat on. He doesn't have on that big coat. He doesn't have on those big pants that they have to protect themselves. This is not a fireman, although this is a fire and nobody is trying to put this fire out. Emergency room treatment at Hillcrest Baptist Medical Hospital in Waco. We went 81 miles at least to get this treatment. Why? Maybe triage didn't have an ice pack for the head. I don't know. Maybe he needs stitches pretty soon. Looks like a concerned wife there. That's good. He looks like he's getting an IV, or this is one of those blood pressure clips, but there's something. I don't know what that is. A bunch of wires. And here's a lady with blue. It looks like, actually, what it looks like is a hospital gown, but I don't know. She's getting some kind of treatment. Dun, 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 dun. This is our open air triage. Makeshift treatment. Injured people being treated on the floodlit high school football field turned into a staging area after the blast. Well, fire truck, sort of a small fire truck, maybe a small fire truck. Here's another fire truck. They're not very big. Might be an ambulance, is an ambulance. Cop car, probably. This looks like a VW with some kind of a black tail end, like those people that work for Best Buy. I don't know. But it's kind of weird that anhydrous ammonia is in the air, and they would go to an open air football field for this treatment of people who would need oxygen and stuff. Here we have busload, desperate school buses used to ferry residents from the scene of the explosion. 180 people have been treated for injuries at local hospitals. You got a lady in scrubs. Looks like scrubs. Looks like more scrubs. Nope. She really does not look like an emergency worker with that stuff on. Definitely a resident. Well, maybe an emergency worker of some type. And a guy in a hat. Of course, gotta have the Texas hat. Here's somebody that's running with a backboard or a stretcher board, and this is bleachers probably. It really is lit up. I don't think that thing looked that lit up, but maybe it is. And this guy has little lacerations and blood on his face. Here's stills of the picture that no doubt the father and daughter took. The fire, the explosion, the consequent burning explosion, fire. But how come this building hasn't exploded? I'm just curious. The roof is still on. The siding is still on. And that apartment complex that we can't find on the map has blown off stuff. I'm not sure why this one is. Maybe it's made out of, bomb shelter stuff. Here's the cloud taken from a different angle down a little bit past the Sonic in town, and this is an interesting picture because it's kind of like supper time. 7-ish, people are eating at 7-ish, and there's only 3 people eating here at Sonic. If they're even eating here, they might be the workers. But nobody's here. No big crowds. Wednesday night's a hump day. You want to go out and eat. 3 cars at this place, whatever it is. I cannot really recognize what that is, but it looks like some kind of Swiss Inn or something because of the way this second floor goes up like that. But I don't know. Here we got USGS, fertilizer factory explosion on the Richter scale. And then we got the sound wave. This is the famous video of the daughter and father. Remains of a silo at the fertilizer plant burns and smokes. More burning embers of a home. A home is burning. Blown out windows at West Furniture. Furniture, some kind of bed effect here. Glass on the sidewalk. Here is an interesting picture. To the rescue, emergency workers assist an elderly person in an emergency triage area at the local school stadium in West Texas. Yes. We have a couple of people in wheelchairs. They look like they might really need it. So a man, somebody helping push the lady, other people standing around, somebody with a blanket or a jacket. But what is this lady doing? Already ready with her gloves. She's there. She's ready to work. Troops. Just saying. Here's our nursing home evacuated. People push wheelchairs in front of the damaged nursing home where 133 residents were evacuated on Wednesday night after the explosion. Okay, so they're just doing a photo op here, pushing wheelchairs past the nursing home. Here's what looks like an ambulance. Here's that porte cochere or carport or whatever you want to call it. Remember this sign in this box, in this window that kind of goes in and this stuff back behind it. What's that? Here we flip back to the ever popular, you know what. Here's that thing. There's that sign. What in the world?